And 1 minute until the start of the show. You got that, Jen? Good deal. $30. Here we go.
The following program is paid for by Channel Mom Media.
The show made for moms and families. It's Channel Mom.
My name is Jenny, and I'm a mom, but I once lived a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I left TV to become a full-time mother, I quickly found out what we moms are up against. Our world glorifies the rich and famous. For what? I say let's honor the moms who are raising this world's next generation.
It's Channel Mom Radio with Jenny Dean Schmidt. We're here for you.
Oh, yes, we are. And so glad to be here for you. I hope you've tuned in for a reason today. You know, our heart is to love on all the moms, as many as we can possibly love on, and encourage you and advise you and coach you. I feel like there's so many moms walking around kind of like the living dead, where they just feel like nobody notices how hard they work or how much they put into their motherhood and their children and trying to make the world a better place by raising their babies well, to love God and love people. And we're here because we do know how hard you work and how much support you deserve. So that is why Channel Mom exists. And so I hope that you tuned in for a reason today. We've got an incredible couple of interviews. It's an unbelievable story. I mean, like literally, you can hardly believe it. And I think there's a gem of a message contained in it for all moms who are worried about our particular culture, about all the shootings, all the violence, all the political division, all the hatred, all the stuff with different parties and people and colors coming against each other. Today, we're going to talk about how do we address that as moms, because we kind of have two experts because they've been through it. In just a minute, we're going to get to this unbelievable story of two friends, two shootings. Both of them survived and lived to pass on a message that they feel called to give to other moms and other families for the benefit of their children. So stay tuned for that message of hope and help. Before we get to that, I just want to let you know about something that I love and is a sponsor of Channel Mom. You know, look, you hear me, you can tell I'm kind of have natural caffeine. God just kind of gave me caffeine in my blood system. And so I don't need it and I don't do well with it. And you wouldn't like me if you heard me after I had some caffeine. So I've turned to Creo Brew. And Creo Brew, the cool thing about it is you can mix it with coffee too if you don't want to give up your coffee, or if you just want to reduce your coffee, or if you want to have an alternative to coffee. It's coffee beans, cocoa beans that you brew like coffee. Incredible smelling. I mean, smelling them just makes you want to brew it. And they've got all different kinds of flavors. They've got some organic options. They've got an Ecuador light roast, and they've got a Ghana light roast, and they've got a peppermint and a pumpkin. Super, super yummy. And I love it. It's got antioxidants in it, all the benefits of dark chocolate. So go to Creo Brew, CRIO Brew, BRU.com, or you can find it at Sprouts and Whole Foods. Okay, that's the business I wanted to give you for now. And I do now want to welcome two women. Crystal Miller is a survivor of Columbine and the Columbine shootings there. She's also the author of Marked for Life, Choosing Hope and Choosing Purpose After Earth-Shattering Tragedy. And then also Christy Antonio. She is a very, very dear childhood friend of Crystal's. So Christy and Crystal, hard for me today. And Christy survived the Vegas shooting just, not very many weeks ago now. And I decided to have them on after the Texas church shooting. Because I thought, oh my goodness, moms are probably freaking out. How do we navigate this new culture where there's a shooting every week, and where moms have to figure out how to, teach their children about this and lead them through it and still have faith and hope in the midst of it, and not live frightened all the time. And, where's the solution in this, and how do moms respond to it? So that is why I invited the two of them on. They're on two separate phone lines. Just so you know, I'm welcoming our Facebook Live audience, and these are the pictures of them for those of you who can see them on Facebook Live. Crystal's here probably on, what is that, your left, and Christy's on the right. I'll hold up their pictures again later so you can see them. Lovely, beautiful women. And I want to welcome our 94.7 KRKS audience, of course, too. Okay, so first, let's welcome Crystal. Crystal, welcome to Channel Mom.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Glad to have you. And Christy, we're glad to have you on board, too. Thanks for coming on the show.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, and it's good to hear your voice on here, Crystal.
Yes, they're so cute
You
together.
too, friend.
You should see them. They did a TV piece recently, and they were hugging through the TV piece. It's just darling. Okay, so, but I say darling, which sounds kind of trite, because they've also been through horrific tragedy. I just so people kind of know where you guys are coming from, I'm going to start with your stories, and I don't want to rest too long on the exact details of the stories, but rather just so people know what the hurt you've gone through and the pain you've gone through. And then I want to get to the message you have for mothers and the hope and the healing that you want to pass on to other families. So Crystal, why don't you start with what you went through at Columbine?
Yes, nearly 18 years ago, I was 16 years old, a junior in high school, and I went to school, normal day like any other, and that afternoon I decided to go to our school library so that I could study. Had only been in there a few minutes when chaos broke out in our school. A teacher came running in saying there were boys with guns and bombs and they were shooting students, and that we needed to hide under our tables, which we did so. And a few minutes later, the two killers had entered the library. And for the next 7.5 minutes, the library became the scene of the most intense violence. Those 7.5 minutes felt like an eternity, literally, as I waited to die. And after those 7.5 minutes, the two boys were literally standing right above me, right behind me. The boy who was under the table with me, sheltering me, he had promised that he would take a bullet for me, which prompted me to basically just give my life to the Lord. God, if you're real, get me out of here alive. And as they stood there just inches from my body, I literally clenched and I waited for death, wondering what it would feel like when I got shot, wondering if I would die quickly, suffer slowly. And at that moment, they left to go reload. They made it clear that they were coming back to kill those of us who are still alive, but they needed more ammunition. And so they left at that point. And then we were able to escape, learning, again, that the library was where most of the violence took place. 10 of the 13 were killed, 15 of the 24 wounded in the same room where I was hiding. Yeah.
And you did, it changed your life. And you wrote your book, Marked for Life. And you made a commitment to God that you would share his love and his gospel throughout the world after that happened. You became friends with Franklin Graham, who wrote the foreword for your book. So it was life-changing in that it prompted you to help others. And so I know you've got a message to share today. But strangely enough, what did you just say, 18 years ago? 18 years ago, yes?
Nearly 18 years
nearly
ago,
18 years ago in April. 18 years later, 17 and a half years later, your dear, precious childhood friend, Christy, went through much the same thing. And by the way, my family has been through a shooting as well, and I'm going to share just a tiny bit about that after we hear from Christy. So, Christy, tell folks in the next minute or two, what you went through in Las Vegas.
Sure. Okay. I went out to the Route 91 concert back 6 weeks ago with a few of my girlfriends for just a mom's trip, a girls' trip. We saw the concert for 3 days, and on the third night, which was the night of the shooting, we were all basically separated. I had gone to the restroom, and the shots began, and so I ran off one way, and all the girls I was with ran off, different ways. I headed away from the strip, and I was helped by a vendor. He hid me behind his cart for a minute, and all I could think was, when I didn't hear the bullets, to run further. So every time it was quiet, I would continue to run further away and take cover and hide. And somehow I was able to get out my phone and call my husband and my family and just tell them my goodbyes because I really thought that I wasn't going to be coming home from the concert.
Yeah.
I found a car. I was going to just stop and hide by it, and somehow, miraculously, God opened the doors. The doors were open of the car, and I was able to climb in the back seat and just hide there and have some time alone with God, some time alone with my husband, my mom and dad, and my sisters, and then they were also able to give me some good advice and some strength to keep going, and I was able to get further away and eventually picked up by someone who had brought to their house until I was able to be reunited with my friends.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you both lived, obviously.
Yeah.
Crystal's voice was in your head at one point when you said, I got to run when they stop shooting, because Crystal had shared with you that that's what she did when they stopped shooting in the library, right?
5 minutes.
Oh, Crystal's voice was with me entirely. It was her advice that I could just think of. I've heard her story over and over through the years and on different TV shows and her book, and I just can so vividly remember that that's how they got out when the shots stopped, or when they went to reload. In that case, they ran, and she had a friend with her who was the one, I think, that was able to really get her focused enough to be able to do that.
Yeah. We only have a little under 5 minutes left in this segment, but we're going to get on to your advice and takeaways for moms in the next segment. I just want you each to sum up. This is incredible that the two of you would be close, dear friends here in the Denver, Colorado area, and you would both grow through shooting separately. Now, just a tidbit, my husband was in the Platte Canyon High School shooting. He was the assistant principal. He was in charge of going around and making sure everybody was safe and secure. He almost got shot himself at one point when he was trying to secure classrooms. My best friend was in the building visiting her husband, who was the principal at the time. She called me to tell me that there was the shooter in the high school taking hostages. So all I could do was pray from home and call all my friends to pray. So, it makes me want to weep just to hear what you guys have been through, because I was bawling through that day until my husband was safe. It all unfolded. It happened on my son's 8th birthday, September 27th. So I identify with what you guys have been through. And I think all three of us have a different picture of the world because of what we've been through. I just want, Crystal, for you to start, and maybe we can get to Christy in the next segment. How do you feel about what we're now seeing in the world, which kind of started with Columbine, of just hatred and violence and taking people out without a moment's notice, and everybody's vulnerable and everybody could be a victim because it happens in movie theaters and schools and everywhere else we can think of. How do you view that as a mother and as somebody who has strong faith?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jenny. My heart is absolutely broken at the state of our world. At turning on the news, literally every day, we're seeing a new violent act that's being perpetrated against innocent, beautiful people. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. It's hard as a mom. I think everything has changed. Obviously, now my filter is as a Columbine survivor and has been for 18 years. But something shifted in me even when the shootings at Sandy Hook took place, because this had been happening, in places. Students were older, people were older, but then when we saw this take place at an elementary school, it absolutely undid me as a mother, because, you start to realize that nobody's safe, nobody's immune, and you want so badly as a mother to be able to assure your children that they're safe. Mm-hmm. You want to take your kids out and do fun things, but for me, I'm always looking still. How would I hide? Where would I go? How could I protect my children? And that hypervigilance can become a little bit exhausting at times. And yet, it's just such a weird time that we live in, because these things are becoming so commonplace. Yet I believe that, and I know we're going to talk about takeaways, but it's important not to continue to live in fear. It's important to really hold tight to our faith and to say, that God is our defender, God is our protector, God sees a way bigger plan, and just being able to trust in Him and to abide in Him and to know that He's got us. regardless of circumstances. And that's hard to do. It's hard to tangibly put our faith in something like that when there's fear all around us. But he tells us that greater is he than he, who is in us than he who is in the world.
Yeah.
And
Crystal,
we can hold tight to that truth. Sorry.
Sure. I'm glad, I shouldn't say I'm glad. The two of you being the spokespeople for having gone through violent shootings, God chose well, because you're both thoughtful, faith-filled, kind-hearted, loving mothers who have a message to pass on to others. So I'm glad he chose you. And of course, those that have passed on left messages behind, and I don't want to discount that. We lost some precious people, but they left messages behind, and I'm grateful for them as well. We're going to come back with Crystal Miller, Columbine survivor, and also Christy Antonio, Vegas shooting survivor. They've got some incredible advice and takeaways for moms to help them navigate this current world. I'm Jenny with Channel Mom. I hope you'll stay tuned.
I'm the CEO of my household. I don't have a degree, but the organization I run is more complex than most companies. Party planner, chef, teacher, nurse, these are just some of the roles I fill every single day. It's time for me to get paid to do what I love to do. I'm going to study at Colorado Christian University and apply what I've learned running my household into a degree that will give me a career. Check out CCU's website at adulted.ccu.edu or call 303-963-3300 and get started down the same amazing path I'm taking today.
The vision of the Life Center is simple: transforming communities, period. Located just south of downtown Littleton, the Life Center meets immediate needs, provides opportunities for development, and shares the hope and truth found only in Jesus. Whether you need help putting food on the table, or reaching your goals by learning English, or finishing your GED, find out more about our services and volunteer opportunities on our website, lifecenterlittleton.org.
It's Channel Mom Radio with Jenny Dean Schmidt. We're here for you.
Hey, welcome back to Channel Mom. We are talking with Columbine survivor Crystal Miller and Las Vegas shooting survivor Christy Antonio, dear childhood friends who both now have gone through shootings, about 17 and a half years apart. Incredible advice they have for moms. But I first want to just say that you heard those two ads in the break, and those people sponsor motherhood. I mean, they are supporting Channel Mom, and CCU Online is mother focused. Man, they have a great setup for moms. 5-week classes. You only have to take one at a time. They're reasonable cost. They have all kinds of degrees, from nursing to counseling, all kinds of things that moms might want to go back to school and get so you can finish your degree or have a continuing degree with them, a master's degree and so on. So check out CCU and their online program. Incredible stuff. And then also the Littleton Life Center. These people, they blow my mind. They really are all about helping people who need a hand up. And they want to transform lives. So if you need somebody who could just use a little hand up, just a little help to get back on their feet, they teach Spanish classes, they teach English classes, they give legal advice. This is all for free. If somebody just needs a legal helping hand, they give shelter from the cold. They have a food bank. It's the Littleton Life Center. And I believe I want to get this right, littletonlifecenter.org. My notes are on the other side of the room. So check them out because, man, they can really help people. Okay, I want to get back to, for my Facebook Live audience, this is a picture of them. We're talking to Crystal Miller, a Columbine survivor, and Christy Antonio, a Vegas shooting survivor. I had them on after the Texas church shooting because I thought this is getting out of control. Not that it wasn't out of control before, but mothers are so anxious now, and they're weeping for the children of America, that this is the environment we now find themselves in. I thought, I want to have two people that have gone through this and that are mothers and that have a message for other mothers of hope and healing so that we don't have to walk around frightened. Christy, we didn't get to you. Crystal had some very profound response to where we're at in the world right now. What was your reaction when you found out about the Texas shooting, Christy?
Oh, my heart it sunk, and I couldn't even believe that had happened at a church, and to just people young and old, like children. It's just, I actually was out for the first time with my girlfriends that I was at the concert with, out to brunch, and happened to pop up on my phone. And I had to leave the table for a few minutes just to process it, I guess. And I have not seen too many details even yet because
You don't want to.
I just can't get there.
No. I posted, and I don't want to upset you with this, but I posted that the youngest victim was an 18-month-old, and I had so many moms respond to that on social media because they're all devastated for the people who lost little ones. And I think as a mother, and this is where I want to get to your takeaways and your advice for the moms who are listening today and the dads, of course. That we think, what's going on now? Because all three of us have faith, and many of our listeners have faith in Christ, we all say God's got this, and we don't need to be afraid of death, and we don't need to be afraid of the life that we're living in. However, it's a threatening environment to bring children up in. So, Crystal, I know that you've written a blog about this and how moms can faith this. Why don't you start in on some of the takeaways and advice that you have for moms living and raising children in this current violent, divisive environment?
Yeah, there's so many things that I think that we can practically do because we do, as moms, we have to rise up and say, this is enough. And we can't wait for change to come. We really, truly have to start being the voice of change. And we can do that as moms, raising our own kids. We can raise our children to be looking out for those who are hurting, those who are ostracized and marginalized, reaching out to them to be inclusive, to notice these kids who are alone, because so many of these perpetrators of this violence, they're feeling alone. They're feeling unnoticed. They feel unaccepted, and so that's small things we can do right here and right now as mothers. We also have the ability to continue to live our lives, to show our kids that we will not be controlled by fear, that the enemy cannot win this in us. We will continue to live our lives, celebrate our lives. And then when things happen, we do have the responsibility as fellow sisters, as believers, to enter into one another's suffering. We can't just like a post on Facebook or throw money at a problem. I mean, it's bringing meals to a mother who's hurting. It's saying, hey, let me watch your kids so you can get some rest or have some time to yourself. It's showing up in the midst of people suffering, and sometimes that's easier said than done, but I think there's something so profound about when we come alongside and carry one another's burdens.
Yeah, and that's half the message of the Bible. Is that is where God loves us, in the suffering, because we live on a sinful planet. So there's always going to be suffering. In the world, we're going to have tribulation. So obviously we got to figure out a way to react to that honors people and honors God. And so I love that you said, look for that child that is hurting and ostracized. I challenge my kids every Christmas to give a gift. Now, this is just a very small thing. It doesn't change the world. But to give a gift to somebody that nobody likes, or somebody that they don't like, somebody that bothers them, or who's always in the principal's office or whatever. Don't give one to your friend who's just fine. Give one to a hurting child. And you never know how you could change a life that way. Christy, I want you to have a chance. We've only got about 4 minutes left. What are some things that you want to pass on to moms to add to Crystal's very wise advice?
Oh, get a community of girlfriends. I think that is so important, to just have support. I supported Crystal 18 years ago the best I could as a teenager, and now I have her to support me. I have my girlfriends that were with me at the concert.
And what about with your children? How have you, I know you have a daughter. How do you talk to her about not being afraid, even though she knows mom went through a shooting?
Right. And especially a way to really guard them from hearing things. They're hearing it at school. It's on commercials.
Yeah.
It pops up on my cell phone. There's no way. We have to do a lot of praying, and a lot of, I have to be very open with her, especially because, I'm her mom and I went through it. And I try to stick to more the facts, I guess, of it rather than details at this point. And I know someday she's going to really learn about it in school. They'll hear about it in school, and she'll have different questions. And but she doesn't know Columbine yet. So the school part hasn't, I don't think that's clicked, other than they do practice drills, like lockdown drills, which makes me makes me just very sad. It's
Yeah.
a different world.
But as moms, we can't forget that we're our children's first filter. I have a friend who counsels kids on, saving themselves and not having sex early. And they say people don't realize that if you just talk to your kids, they're more likely to follow your instruction than even their peers. So if you'll just be the filter for your children when they're talking about situations like this at school or on the news or whatever, you're the first filter, and not to forget that, and not to live in fear, as both Crystal and Christy have said, and also to reach out to others and to find the hurting children. Maybe we can stop some of this if we're willing to go outside of our comfort zone and help that hurting child down the block that doesn't have a great, family situation. I have to let both of you go. Crystal, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to have a last word since Christy spoke last.
Yeah, just to the mom out there, I know I just want you to encourage you, as Christy said, you have the opportunity to pray with your kids, to love on your kids, to teach them the truth of God's word. And that is freedom that will set them free for life. And so don't underestimate, even as Jenny said, just the influence that you have amidst this scary world, to show them that there's hope. There's always hope, and that they are stronger even than they know.
That's right. And I love it when moms pass on faith to kids because it changes everything. It's a game changer. I want to let you guys know that Crystal said that she would be happy to give away a book. We can't take a caller because our phone lines are full, but you can email us at channelmom@gmail.com. channelmom@gmail.com to win Crystal's book, Marked for Life. It could be a game changer for a teenager in your life. So don't be afraid to email us at channelmom@gmail.com to win Crystal's book. God bless you both. Thank you for being on Channel Mom. God bless every mom out there. Don't underestimate your power in a scary world. You can make it better for your kids and give them faith. Have a good weekend.
If you enjoy what you hear